Unfortunately, I can't stay here. According to the police, if I stay for this protesting in the maze, keeping the maze, I'll be arrested. So I'm going to do this interview and then leave. But I believe there were quite a few other people here. What's going on is another and total disgrace. What sort of deal has been done between the DUP and the murderers of our people? They will do anything to keep this shrine. And be under no illusion, that's exactly what this is, a shrine. We said in 2006, and the DUP fully agreed with us, that this was going to be a shrine. Now they've done a complete U-turn. Well, they can only keep us silent for so long. Keeping holy ground for the IRA, for the gutless tramps that murder our people. And the DUP should hang their head in shame. The fact that they are actually promoting this whole so-called project in here about peace building. And I have to say, I've been told there's other people being intimidated and threatened by people who call themselves loyalists because they're against this maze. The other thing the DUP would need to realise here, that no matter how much they try to silence us, we are not going to be silenced. They can keep me silenced with the threat of going to jail. People died for this country. Going to jail does not deter me. This is only starting, and be sure of that. The DUP need to take that message back to their leadership, the grassroots. This is only starting. We will fight this every inch of the road. So if they try that game, you know, you have it there, you have the times and all, and I'm now gone.
Whoever would have thought that when the main unionist parties, namely at present the Ulster Unionist Party, the TUV, the UKIP, the PUP, the Orange Order, the RUC George Cross, the UDR Benevolent Fund, and the list goes on, that expressed their total opposition to what's happening here behind us, that the main unionist party under the leadership of Robinson totally ignore the views of the vast majority of unionists in this country. It grieves us to think that such a thing is happening. And as we watch the news today, and as we see the great and the good being flown into Northern Ireland, disrupting our lives over 2 days' events, when you see Marty and Peter standing together, it grieves us even further to think that a man with blood dripping from his hands is holding Robinson to ransom. And let's make it clear that's exactly what is happening. Because this shrine behind us, and that's what it is, don't let anybody tell you anything different. We've heard the MP for the area, the Right Honourable Jeffrey Donaldson, insisting that it's not going to be a shrine. I'll let you know what he said in 2004. On the 18th of February 2004 in The Guardian, Donaldson said, "The victims of these terrorists will not visit this site. It would be an absolute abomination to them." I say shame on Donaldson and his cohorts in the DUP. The fact of the matter is that we have unionists, so-called unionists, who have done a dirty deal with the bloodthirsty thugs of the IRA, and that's all they are, to ensure that they get the prize of a shrine behind us. And to think that we're that stupid, to think that they're telling us that it won't be a shrine. Why are they keeping the hospital? Why are they keeping the H block? They're not keeping it to Philip O'Mara's bars to remind us of Bobby Sands. That's one sure thing. Or fish suppers or sausage suppers. But what they're intending to do is trying to rewrite the dirty history of Sinn Féin IRA and the blood that they incurred upon the unionist community. The thing that grieves me the most are those who supposedly at a time stood by side with victims of the IRA campaign, are now standing side by side with those who perpetrated the violence in this country, and are standing as one with the self-confessed commander of the IRA. I say shame on Robinson, and the sooner he goes the better. What clearly is happening here is that unionists are facilitating Sinn Féin rewriting the history.
Basically, I'm here on behalf of the Progressive Unionist Party. It's good to see genuine people, these are all genuine people out this evening, organising, educating yourselves, politicising to counter the cultural war which is being waged against the unionist community. We can't afford to lose. Too many have paid dearly to remain British. I spent 11 years in the uniform of the British Army. I know the consequences of IRA actions. It's striking how this one issue, out of many issues, but this one has galvanised unionism into one body. Except, and I repeat, except for the DUP, who not so long ago were of the same opinion as ourselves. How times have changed when power is now in their hands. Power which at the stroke of a pen, a simple stroke of a pen, can stop this Republican wish list and this abortion behind us going ahead. I refer to previous statements made on behalf of the Progressive Unionist Party. On the release of the last prisoners out of this Maze prison in 2000, the Progressive Unionist Party called for the place to be bulldozed. They called for it to be flattened. That was 13 years ago. In 2003, the then late David Irvine again called for the site to be bulldozed. He did the same again in 2004. In 2003, the PUP made a submission to the Maze consultation panel. At that time, it was chaired by the Unionist Party and the SDLP. In the submission, and I'll keep it brief what they said, bulldoze it, flatten it, take it to the ground, raise it. Why are we calling it to be raised to the ground? Sammy hit on it tonight. Paul has said the same thing. Because the plans are toxic. They're abhorrent to the vast majority of citizens in this country. It will increase feelings of loss and resentment instead of reconciliation. The PUP recognise this fact. In closing, I'm going to refer to the words of the late David Irvine, and I quote, "Bulldoze it. Too much pain, too many victims. It's a blot on the landscape. Let's bring down the curtain on this part of our history. For the sake of our children and future generations, the PUP say flatten the shrine and let everyone move on." Thank you.
My opposition and the opposition of my party to the plans at the Maze did not start last week. It did not start last month. It did not start last year. But years ago, TUV is on record as opposing what is planned for the Maze site. Back when Jim was a member of the European Parliament, he voiced his opposition to the trip that Martin McGuinness and Ian Paisley made to Brussels to lobby for the £18 million which are to be spent on this so-called peace centre. The first election in which TUV stood in this country was the Dromore by-election. In the literature for that election, we made clear the dangers of a shrine at the Maze. We made clear our opposition to the building of a peace centre anywhere near the building that housed the prisoners which robbed this country of peace. In the European election of 2009, we ran on a manifesto, and one of its key points was the opposition of European money coming to this site in order to build a peace centre. And again, in the Westminster and in the Assembly elections, we articulated our opposition to this plan. So those who tell you that this campaign against the Maze started within the last few months, or was a Johnny-come-lately thing that was just an opportunity to kick at the DUP, are just plain wrong. I see people here tonight from Fair. Unfortunately, not all of the people who had come from Fair have been able to make it tonight. And perhaps we'll hear more of that in the coming days. But if you put in an FOI request to the Department of the Environment and you ask them who has raised objections to the listing of the H blocks and the prison or the hospital wing, who has asked for them to be delisted and bulldozed to the ground, you'll get letters back from Jim Allister, and you'll get letters back from Willie Frazer and from the guys in Fair who'd asked that years ago. So this is, let me just nail that lie. This is not a new thing. This is not something that has just happened over the last